What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the FPL video. My name is Mo, and today I'll be going through the best and the worst fixtures between game week 1 to game week 5. So what this is going to be is like an insight to which team have the most favourable fixtures, which team have not such favourable fixtures at the start of the season within the first 5 game weeks. And we'll also discuss what players to target from the good fixtures, what players to even avoid from the teams that have good fixtures. However, also what teams that we can actually look to avoid early on in terms of tripling up or even doubling up, and then hopefully if there is a fixture swing later on after game week 5, then that's something that we can target with an early wild card, because we have like a free kind of wild card hit due to the World Cup, and we can look at all into the insights of which players we can look to target or avoid within the first 5 game weeks. But we've got the fixtures for game week 1 on screen, so we'll discuss it all through, and I'll talk about the teams that I'm looking into personally and which fixtures I'm looking to target and avoid moving into the game weeks 1 to game week 5. Before we get into it, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, join the FPL INKLING family. The family continues to grow. If you like the content, give us a like on the video, and if you haven't joined the FPL INKLING League, the league code is just below my camera screen. Type that in, join the FPL INKLING League, and let's have a fabulous season this season. So let's dive into it. Let's look at the teams with the most favourable fixtures. So this is according to FPL difficulty rating of fixtures. So I've ranked them from 1 to 5 in terms of the difficulty predicted. So at the top, we have Arsenal. Very favourable fixtures, a lot of green there. So if they've got an away trip to Crystal Palace, which won't be easy. They had a difficult time there last season when they went to Palace, and even when they went to, I think it was Brentford on game week 1, where they lost 2-0. But I think generally the way they've played pre-season, the additions of new players, the way Arteta's got that team running, I'm quite hopeful that they should get a good start to the season. Obviously, they've got Ramsdale in goal, they've got Gabriel at the back, they've got Tomiyasu back from injury. Kieran Tierney is on the way to fitness. They've signed Zinchenko, so whether he plays left back to start off with and then move over to the midfield. You've also got players like Bukayo Saka, who had an immense season last year and the Euros. You've also got Martinelli, Jesus. I think it's the signing of the summer. For me personally, comes in at a really good price. But there are some players that you can look to avoid, in my personal opinion. I know Zinchenko, people are looking into him, but how much value does he actually add to the Arsenal ranks? So if I was to personally target some players, I wouldn't even go for Ramsdale personally, even though he did so well last season. I just think there are better players on the pitch to target. Number 1 is Jesus. Secondly, I'd go Saka. And then this is no real order for me personally, but I preferred Gabriel because I think he's a nailed-on centre-back, captain of the club, and he does, cause a real threat from set pieces. And the first 2 teams that they're playing are Crystal Palace and Leicester, who were absolutely abysmal last season in terms of set piece defending and conceding goals left, right, centre. So I think that's a really good chance for someone with a physique and a presence like him in the box to maybe get a goal, along with a couple of clean sheets as well. Other targets I would look at are the players from Arsenal. Tomiyasu is a real good pick as well. So you have a real good choice, but I said personally, in my opinion, I'd avoid Kieran Tierney at the moment due to injury. Not too sure about how fit he is to start the season. Zinchenko, I kind of want to see a bit more of where he's going to be playing. How many minutes will he get? Because obviously he must have been assured minutes to be playing to come over to Arsenal from Man City. And also Ramsdale, I think there's better value elsewhere for goalkeepers around the same price of 5 million. Someone like a Mendy, for example, I think they have similar fixtures, I'd say. But I just think, there are better outfield players to target from Arsenal than rather just stick in Ramsdale in the defence. And if you look at their fixtures after, Bournemouth away, Fulham at home, so 2 promoted clubs in the first 5 fixtures, and then Aston Villa at home. I still believe that could be a fast start for Arsenal, and if you can kind of treble up on them or even double up on them, Martinelli looks on the left side, you've got Saka on the right, and you've got Jesus up front. So any 2 of those 3 will be absolutely beneficial. If you do want to triple up and go for the Martinelli pick, I think maybe having an additional kind of stronger bench might be a good option, because he might get a risk of rotation. That might be in terms of minutes as well, because Arsenal literally have so much firepower with Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Xhaka to come on as well. Moving on to Chelsea now. I know everyone was tripling up on Chelsea when the original game came out because of the prices of defenders. For example, Reece James and Chilwell came in at 6 million each. Obviously, there were, players that people wanted to target because of the price range and basically their returns, along with the fixtures they have lined up as well. Now, the concern for me pre-season has been the form they have, and I'm not too sure how they're going to line up. in terms of whether it's going to be a 5 at the back with 2 wing backs. And then they've also got, potential of having 4 at the back. And you've got Reece James, for example, who maybe, played and centre-back role on the right side. We just don't know how they're going to line up, and there's a lot of uncertainty, not a lot of good noise coming out of Chelsea, personally, at the moment. So tripling off on them, even though they've got good fixtures, might not be a wise idea, because we still need to know how they're going to set up and how they're going to line up. There are some players that I'm looking into personally myself. Havertz at 8 million seems like a good pick for that price. We'll get regular minutes. Had a really good end to the season last season. Reece James, obviously, when he's fit and he's playing, a real attacking asset. And Ben Chilwell, we haven't seen much of him in pre-season, I think. And I just don't really know how fit he is to start the season. But in contention for the England spot, he definitely has to prove a point, because Luke Shaw, it's not even in favour for Manchester United. So he may even get off to a good start as well. So players that I'd potentially avoid at the moment, just because of uncertainty, I wouldn't go for Chilwell. I'd rather go for Reece James. Mason Mount, as an asset, he's quite frustrating, because when you do own him, he doesn't really give you the returns. Maybe it's just, sod's law and just bad luck for me. But then he goes on this amazing run where he'll get, back-to-back game weeks of double-digit scores. But I just think there's better value for that price of 8 million elsewhere. So, for example, Bukayo Saka, Diaz from Liverpool. Even I'd say Maddison I'd rank higher than Mason Mount at the moment, so I'd personally avoid him. Otherwise, Chelsea, there are some players like even Mendy that I'd consider in my goal, because if you want to go for the clean sheet potential rather than going for the defenders like I have, I've just gone for Mendy. So he'll get me some save points, and if he gets the clean sheet, happy days. I've kind of caught on to the bandwagon of people are doubling or tripling up on Chelsea. Now, moving on to the next team, which was caught me by surprise, despite having a really difficult fixture at home against Chelsea, is Everton. Now, Everton have had a disappointing pre-season. They had a bad season last season, just survived relegation. How are they looking? Lampard's in charge, what their plan is, which players there are to target. Now, look at the fixtures. They've got Aston Villa away, Nottingham Forest at home, and then you've also got Brentford away as well, followed by Leeds. So I think personally from game week 2 onwards, they've got some really good fixtures. Now, players you can really look to target. Clean sheet wise, I don't think there's going to be many clean sheets for Everton this season, to be brutally honest. They've lost Digne as well, and they do regularly have injuries in the back line, which have a huge effect. So players from last season, Dominic Calvert-Lewin didn't have a great season last season, unlike the season before. So is that someone we can target? Again, we can have a look in the first 2 game weeks to see how he does against Chelsea and Aston Villa, and then he's got a real good fixture run there to really target as well. Gordon has been given the number 10 at 5.5 mil, might be like a good differential in terms of being selected. But again, we do need to see how they line up. For me, despite those fixtures, I would look to avoid game week 1 Everton players. Maybe in game week 3, if you got a few transfers and they get off to a good start, you can actually take advantage of the good players in form for Everton indeed. Now, moving on to the next team, it's Leeds United. Now, we just don't know what we're going to get with Leeds. Obviously, Bielsa's gone. There's no more Bielsa ball. But there's some really good favourable fixtures in here. And it's just about how they can turn up and, can they keep clean sheets. So you've got Wolves at home, which will be a decent game for them in front of their home crowd. It will be a really good game. I think it'll be high scoring as well. I doubt it's going to be a 0-0, but put the mockers on now. Then they've got Southampton away, followed by Chelsea at home, Brentford away, and Everton at home. So again, it all goes down to the defence. I know a lot of managers are, getting Meslier in goal for the 4.5 goalkeeper. Looking at those fixtures, it might not even be a bad shout whatsoever. Obviously, barring the Chelsea game, but you just never know. Jack Harrison signed over from Man City last season. Again, can he hit his true potential? You've also got Patrick Bamford coming back, and I think he's in my opinion, for 7.5 mil is a bit too much. You've got Rodrigo taking penalties pre-season. Now, he might not even be on penalties, so for that price range, you've got players like Callum Wilson, 7.5 mil. You've got Martial at 7 mil. Might be a better shout going for them up front. So from Leeds, I don't really have many players that I personally would go for. Dallas has gone back into defence, so maybe Dallas, I just don't know. But defensively, there's not many assets from Leeds that I'd look at. But the only thing I'd personally, if I were to make a transfer, might be Meslier in goal, just to free up some funds from the defence goal, for example, and add it to my attack. So that's something that I could look into, upgrading like Fornells or Neto, whoever I have in my team. up to like Martinelli or even Rashford if I can get the additional funds. So Leeds is someone that you could look to target, but personally for me, I'm not going to have any Leeds players at the first 5 games of the season unless someone hits the ground absolutely running. Then you've got Manchester City coming at number 5. So a difficult first game at West Ham. Again, it's hard to say how it's going to go because it could go one or two ways. It could be like last season where it's going to be like a draw, a hard-fought game. There could be a surprise from West Ham. They've signed a new striker as well, but you've also got, the Man City new assets coming in. They've lost Sterling, they lost Jesus, but they've got Haaland up front, and Kevin De Bruyne is back to full fitness, so you just never know. Bournemouth at home should be a favourable fixture, and I think a lot of people will be captaining a Man City asset of some sort, so either Cancelo, Kevin De Bruyne if you own him, and even Haaland is going to be my captaincy pick because he's in my team at the moment. So that's going to be someone who I can definitely target. The Newcastle away will be a tough game because Newcastle did well at the end of the season. Can they carry it on this season? But I expect City to be comfortable in that game too. And then Crystal Palace at home and Nottingham Forest at home as well. So you can see they've actually got 2 of the promoted sides in their first 5 games with very favourable home fixtures against Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and Nottingham. So captaincy options look great. Players to avoid for me personally from these squads. I'm just not too sure. At the moment around Foden, how many minutes will he get? Will he get the start of the season? Mahrez, I'm a bit more concerned about because yes, he does get good points, but it's just the lack of minutes and rotation. With Sterling going, will that free up some more minutes for them? I'm just not too sure. We just have to see how Pep kind of favours, because Pep has this really weird roulette period where he'll kind of select players like back to back for a couple of games, and then he'll just drop them out of the blue, and you just won't see them being picked for a couple of weeks, and that can be quite frustrating if you don't have a good bench. And with the 5 subs rule this season, I am quite concerned about how many minutes some of the players will get, let alone City, who already have a rotation policy. Players, again, to avoid, I would say at the moment at the start of the season, Kevin De Bruyne, I'd kind of save that $500,000 and put that to Haaland, for example. Bernardo Silva had a good start to the season last season in Kevin De Bruyne's absence, but then kind of calmed down at the end of the season, so I kind of avoid him as well. In terms of Grealish, I'm not too sure what to expect. He should get more minutes times. He's done well pre-season. Can he live up to the expectation that Man City fans and Pep Guardiola have? So I kind of avoid him, kind of see how he's going first, because you can always jump around with the 7 mil and 8 million midfielders that we have, because if someone hits a bit of form, you can actually kind of move across your transfers without taking any hits. So personally, good fixtures to target for City. Tripling up might be a good shout. So Edison might be a good shout as well, because he's nailed. Diaz, unless he's injured, is pretty much nailed. So is Cancelo. Laporte is injured at the start of the season, I believe. I think he's got an injury. So maybe, even Neva Kanake could stay. I know he was going to Chelsea. And you could even have John Stones playing as well. So it's worthwhile keeping an eye on who's going to get the minutes. So there's a lot of City assets can be used and definitely a lot of fixtures to take advantage of. Now, looking at the bottom 5 difficulty fixtures, so this is like from, it's not the top, so it's kind of going to be like 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and the worst fixtures are Southampton right at the bottom. So you've got Newcastle United, they've got Nottingham Forest at home, Brighton away, which is a good start. But then they've got difficult fixtures at Man City at home, Wolves away, and Liverpool away. So 2 of the contenders of the Premier League in the first 5 game weeks may not be that great, but if you want to target for the first 2 game weeks, someone like a Callum Wilson or a Guimaraes along those lines, there might be a good shout, even St. Maximin. But otherwise, I wouldn't look too far into Newcastle personally, in my opinion. We'd like to see how they go. Can they continue on the great work from last season? That's going to be something that we can look out for. Then we've got the new promoting team, Forest. They got Newcastle away, West Ham at home, Everton away, and then Spurs at home and Man City away. Tough games. Personally, I'm not looking at any Forest players at the moment, but if you are, it might be worthwhile, just thinking of alternatives, because the fixture run isn't that great. Maybe later on it might be a better shout to get them involved, but they could hit the ground running. You just never know, but I'm just not targeting any Forest players to begin with. The next team is Bournemouth, so another promoted side coming up. They're playing Aston Villa at home first game week, Man City away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away, and Wolverhampton at home. So again, I don't intend to target any players from Bournemouth itself, because those fixtures just don't add any kind of value to being selected, because I probably won't play those players because of those fixtures. But that is certainly a tough start for Bournemouth. And then you've got Crystal Palace. Now, I've always been an advocate of Wilfried Zaha. I've picked him over my previous seasons, as you know. I really like Eze in the midfield. But looking at those fixtures, the second most difficult fixtures that you can see on the FPL fixture difficulty. Arsenal at home, Liverpool away, Aston Villa at home, then Man City away, and then Brentford at home. Yes, they have Brentford in game week 5, but it might be worthwhile avoiding any assets. But if you do want to pick Zaha, he's a goal threat. He takes penalties as well, so that might be the main source of goal. But otherwise, all other players, personally, I'd avoid from Crystal Palace. And last but not least, we've got Saints Southampton with the worst fixture run according to the FPL fixture difficulty predictor. So they start off at Spurs, so Harry Kane is a real top target now. The temptation I have is to have Kane for game week 1 and then swap him over for Haaland for game week 2 because of the captaincy at Bournemouth. That's something I'm really contemplating at the moment. But in terms of Southampton, Leeds at home might be a good fixture to target, but then Leicester away, Manchester United at home and Chelsea at home, they are really difficult fixtures. Players from here that I potentially could look at, James Ward-Prowse, but again, there are better values for that price range for me, like Martinelli, Neto, Fornells, even Rashford. So I wouldn't even look at those players at the moment in terms of those fixtures. Maybe when they get a bit more of a better fixture run and we can see a bit more form from players, it might be a good idea to see how they can actually accumulate some points from there. But that's how it's looking at the moment. Those are the team fixtures, guys. Who are you looking to target? I haven't mentioned Liverpool on here itself, but literally what I can do is I can bring up Trent from a previous video. So you can look at their fixtures as well. Again, they're not on any of the easy or the difficult parts of the top 5, but looking at those fixtures, Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home, Bournemouth at home, they look really good fixtures. 2 of the most promoted sides that have come up this season. Some real points there, tripling up on Liverpool. So you've got Trent, I would say Robertson, Diaz. They're in real contention. People are looking at Nunes as well, Darwin Nunes. So there are potentials there to tripling up there as well. Van Dijk's a great option to bring in to the team and the mix as well. So Liverpool, I know I haven't mentioned it on the fixtures because it wasn't available in terms of they were having the most best or worst fixtures. But there are a team to also look into contention because they are one of the strongest teams. So as you can see from here, these are the fixtures for game week 1. You can target your players there, set up your team, and we've gone through the in-depth as well, which teams to target and what players to go for and which players to potentially avoid as well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking to triple up on City potentially, triple up on Liverpool if I can, and even triple up on Arsenal if I get the opportunity. But I think I might be able to only keep 2 City players, maybe 3 if I can push it in. But otherwise, that's the kind of main aim for myself. And then obviously I've got a wild card that we can look at form players and it can all come into piece as well. But that's it from me, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are there any teams that I haven't discussed that you want to talk about or any players that you're interested in or you're looking to avoid? Let me know. Hit in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Be part of the FPL INKLING family. And if you haven't joined the league, type that league code in below my camera screen and join the FPL INKLING league on the game itself. And like the video if you give it a like. I look forward to seeing you soon with some more content. Till then, take care and I'll see you soon.